And eventually we hear that the battalion commander, the same one who had decided to call us up, he commands a battalion around, a couple hundred soldiers. He says, none of you really understand what's going on in the south right now. We've been attacked. Israel has been surprised by Hamas. They've been able to make a series of attacks and moves that have been, completely unprecedented, and they've attacked military bases, and soldiers have been killed and kidnapped. And right now, there's no one there. There's no organized unit that is left to fight the attackers. And right now, it's the civilians. Right now, it's our brothers. It's women and children that are now fighting terrorists. We get to this block, and they part aside so we can pass by. And within a minute or two of passing by this row of police cars, it's become clear that we've driven directly into an active war zone. There are fires, there are cars on fire, there are bodies, there are injured, there are, I think, mortars or bombs falling in the fields next to us. We're met with something that we've never seen before in our lives. And sure enough, a few minutes into walking, we see on our left, in kind of more or less after you pass a line of trees in an open field, we see someone running. My first thought was that it was not a civilian. You see, I have a scope on my gun where I could see a little further than other people, and I could shoot a little farther. So I see him in my scope, and he's wearing jeans, and I think someone called at him. I didn't call him myself. Someone called at him, tzahal tzahal or atzo, stop. This is a IDF stop. And I remember him kind of like looking at us, kind of like this, and then looked back and started running towards the exit of the kibbutz. And my first thought was terrorist. And I got down in a prone position and immediately fired a few rounds at him, and other people fired at him as well, and he fell. And we hear a burst of fire in front of us, and the platoon, only a few meters in front of us, which was a terrorist that was hiding in a line of bushes that had opened fire at the platoon in front of us, at our friends, and the platoon in front of us opened at point blank range, and somehow missed, I guess. I don't know if his gun malfunctioned. I don't know if it was nighttime and he couldn't see, whatever it was. I don't know if it was a miracle. He missed those soldiers, and they were able to turn, and immediately they were able to kill him as well. So already with just a few minutes of walking before we even got to the first entrance of the kibbutz, we had already been engaged by and killed two terrorists. We get to what was the youth area, the dormitory area of Kfar Aza, which was, everyone's seen the pictures by now, and it's this stretch of dirt road with like small little apartments on each side. And the closer we get to there, the more signs of, there are exploded, destroyed walls of houses, and there are bodies of terrorists and bodies of civilians as you get closer and closer. And every time we would turn the corner and walk into a new apartment, aiming and to clear it out. I remember the hardest part was bracing myself for either being fired at by a terrorist that was hiding there, or visually seeing what was in that apartment for us to see. And saw in the middle of the night, my friend called me over and he said, "Avi, do you have like a night vision device?" And I said, "Yeah, as the sharpshooter, I have a scope that has night vision on it." And he said, "Tell me if you see what I'm seeing." "I see a bunch of headlights coming our way from Gaza." And I said, okay. And I come to look at it, and sure enough, I see what looks exactly like 6, 7 pairs of headlights that are appear to be getting bigger, coming at us from Gaza. And we call in the company commander, the head officer, our commanding officer, and we call him in from whichever house he was in and get him on the radio, "Come in right away. So are you seeing what I'm seeing?" Like, "Yes, I see what appears to be headlights." And we're just assuming like, okay, this is round 2, round 3, round 4, whatever it is of Hamas coming in, and we're going to have a fight in our hands. I remember feeling so alone in that moment. again, middle of the night, you don't see that there are forces around you. There was a tank at one point, and I asked the officer, I'm like, is the tank that was next to us, is he still here? And he said, no, the tank is gone. So I said, oh my gosh, like we're gonna, like I remember that was one of the moments where I had mentally prepared myself, like, okay, like this is where I'm going to die. And I remember having to make peace with that. Luckily, after a few back and forths of that, guard the fence, waiting to die, go back to that rest area, if you so call it. They told us like, okay, that's it. There's another unit here. They're gonna switch us out. There's a new battalion. They're entering Kfar Aza now. It's over. We're going to the buses, and Kfar Aza is now marked as safe. I think it was one of the last kibbutzim that was able to be. In Hebrew, it's called tuhar in the army, which means clear, like all clear. I think it was one of the last kibbutzim. This was Tuesday night. And I said, all clear. There's another unit that's going to come and hold the area now, and we're going to go to a base a little further up north. So, and as I said before, I think one of the most meaningful moments of my life was looking out and seeing. I think it was 50 people total, plus minus, more or less, that we were able to find, that were left and that had barricaded themselves, and seeing them march out, being led by our soldiers, by our unit, seeing them march out and get onto a bus. We didn't see the bus, but they got out and there was a bus waiting to take them to wherever. That moment of, we've accomplished something. We've accomplished something with everything terrible that had happened, with everything that we had seen, with everything that we were going to see. We saved Jews. There are Jews that were here. There are Israelis that were here. There were families that were here that we did get here in time. There was a lot that we didn't get here in time for. For these families, we did get here in time.